I realized that nobody was there to take care of him. My sisters and his relatives were all busy with their own lives. And so I felt a lot of concern. So I came back to the reservation after 5 years, and I took care of him. And we got moved to a new location where we have running water, we have electricity. I brought a lot of my furniture that I attained, like television, furniture, and stuff like that. So he was happy. He was happy. But later on, I had two other brothers that I also basically took care of too after my father passed on. My two brothers, both of them died of cancer. And then other relatives like aunts and uncles who had gone on, and he helped out learning about caregiving and learning to be able to take care of one another. So that was kind of like my early stages of what it means to be a caregiver. Little did I know that I didn't label myself as a caregiver. It was just something that was instilled in us, taught us to, okay, this is how you take care of an individual. So you learn by doing observations. So, but at that point, I had graduated from the university, and unfortunately, in my senior year, that's when my father left us, and I think I missed like about 2 weeks of school. And I remember UNM counselor telling me, "You're not going to be able to graduate until the next coming semester, which was in the fall. So it's up to you what you want to do." But right after that, I knew, even though in the midst of depression, losing a family member, I jumped right back in there and completed my schoolwork. And I did get to graduate, and I completed all my assignments, and I know could do it. And that's because the elders, they told me that, don't take your education as a secondary priority. Go out, get your high school diploma, go to college, get a college degree, and continue on. And one of my aunts used to tell me, go all the way. And I was like, what does she mean all the way? Okay, PhD? Yeah, become a doctor. So, I continue my education. Hopefully, my next step is to learn and pursuing a doctor level education. So that's still in the plans. But learning to becoming a caregiver throughout my life, and then continuing on to also coming into Phoenix, working with the Intertribal Council. Sort of had an idea of what a caregiver was and what they are, what they do. And it wasn't until then when I thought about the challenges and the benefits of becoming a caregiver. What does it take to be one of those people who we call respite caregivers? What are the trials? What do we do with elders when they're placed in facilities like in nursing homes? And then how do they deal with traditional ways? And all those things kind of came up to mind. And it was part of my, along the lines of getting my Western education, I kind of intertwined the cultural teaching in together with it too. What I learned as a Navajo and what I learned as education individual going to school outside the reservation. So some of the challenges that I remember coming across taking care of family members, like I was working full-time and I was going to school part-time, and it was kind of hard. And I'm sure that, how many caregivers do we have in this room? If I can see, show of hands. And then a lot of the resources that you look for are not available out there on the Navajo Nation in New Mexico. You have to drive closely 20 to 50 to 100 miles to even attain some kind of a health care, or even to get some kind of resource. They didn't have caregiver education and skills training. So a lot of those I pretty much learned a lot here, but through working and doing research on where to go, like local elderly centers. Maybe a lot of my relatives were in the healthcare field, like registered nurses, CNAs. Some of my sisters were CNAs, so they kind of knew, they shared that with me. So that was kind of like the benefits of that they knew what to do. They worked in hospitals. They know what it's like to combat with those kind of life situations, especially when a family member becomes ill and you have to become the caretaker at that time. And through my education and my career until I reached a graduate level program where I learned about health education. This is what it means, and this is what the lack of resources on the reservation. And that was very dear heart to me, that I needed to make those connections about bringing out some of those healthcare specialists, the health educators, the caregiver trainers from the local city to the reservation, to the chapter houses, to the hospitals, because people need to be trained and learn how to better take care of being a respite caretaker and being an actual formal caregiver. There were no actual formal education, when I was growing up. It wasn't until I came to Phoenix. A lot of those were actually coming about at that time. And there's so many resources and agencies here in the Valley area that I learned about, and as well as up in Albuquerque, New Mexico, which I constantly shared with family members. Programs like Chronic Disease Self-Management Program, Powerful Skills for Caregivers. Those are things that I mastered when I was over at ITCA, and I went out to the 22 tribes and trained those family caregiver programs up at their senior sites. And a lot of them have not heard, and it was such a blessing for them that I actually learned about these programs and trained them how to be a very good formal caregiver. Let me switch a little bit on in the Native American perspective. There is a difference in how you take care of an individual. The difference is like maybe, okay, if there's a male caregiver caring for a male or a female caregiver, like a relative, sometimes that's a no-no. And then vice versa, if it's a female caring for, like an aunt caring for her brother, they're not allowed to touch that individual because of gender differences. There's out of respect, out of customs, those are things that are you have to be cognizant of. And for me, caring for my father was okay, but I learned that he would tell me, on his bed, that make sure later on when you're going to be able to take care of other relatives, your sisters, your grandmothers, make sure it's a female that's taking care of that individual, because when you're bathing them, washing them, helping them go to the bathroom, it has to be a same gender, a relative that has to do that part. So I think it might be the same for some of the cultures here for the 22 tribes in the state. And I've asked them about it, and sometimes yes and no, there's some gray areas, but I think it's just kind of across the board that it should be a male or female caregiver for the same gender. And then in my growing up too, like I said, I learned a lot of traditional ways. I asked a lot of questions. Why is this spiritual leader putting a blessing on this individual when I know this individual is not going to be able to survive? But for the benefit of them, I had to find out that sometimes people use that as spiritual requirement, the need for spiritual ways. That's their healing process, how to become a little better, so that one day they'll be able to get out of bed and be able to take care of themselves again. So in my part, I often look into those avenues where looking at it from the Western part, education perspective, and then also the Native American perspective. A lot of them do intertwine, a lot of them don't. There's a lot of cultural sensitivity that's involved in that. As I learned, in this journey, like the adult protective services, maybe child protective services, where the sovereign nations between two sovereign nations like the tribal nations, the state government, or the city. You know, if an APS issue comes up, a non-tribal member cannot come onto tribal land to do an investigation unless there's an agreement that happens between the tribal leader and the state, and vice versa. And so that's something that I've learned and working on. And I recently, one of my colleagues, Betty, and I and Catherine, we went up to Colorado River Indian Tribe meeting with their social services program. They've actually put their APS agreement with the state in place. And I know there's other 21 to 20 tribes who are working on that so they can get some assistance from, you know, they could work together equally where non-tribal members can come onto tribal reservation to help out in those areas. So that was something that I found, and those are some ways that I obtained a lot of information and education throughout what is available out there. So going on, I'd like to touch upon, so being a caregiver, what is it that you need to know? So I'm gonna look forward here. In my experience, I didn't know that I was a caretaker, and I wasn't told that I was a caregiver. So there's a lot of self-evaluation that I had to think about. Like I said, I worked full-time, I went to school part-time, and then of course I had house responsibilities. So when it comes to a caregiver, a lot of them, when they become caregivers, they forget about themselves. Statistically, across the country, across the nation, more so than the caregivers are the first to go before their client, the individual that they're taking care of. And that's because they forgot all about themselves, taking care of themselves first before even trying to take care of another family member. So I had to look at the pros and look at the cons, and I had to intertwine how am I going to organize, who am I going to look to when I'm at work, when I'm at school, to care for my loved one, my father, my brothers. So that's when family members would come in, and communication with family members is very critical. Just because you learn how to be a caregiver doesn't mean that you're the only one that they're going to look to. As a family, you have to meet together with everyone. Who's going to do what role is that person going to take? Who's going to buy the diapers, the medication? Who's going to pay for that? So it was wonderful that I have my sisters there with me, but it took a lot of negotiating. A lot of times there's always bitterness. There's always like, I don't have time. I have to go to this training. I have to go on travel. That always comes up. And sometimes you have to look toward somebody from the outside, maybe a clergy, maybe a pastor, maybe an individual who's responsible for providing education to become a caregiver. Sometimes it takes an outsider to see a bigger picture, and then finally they will listen. But then, we were always taught in my family to respect one another. We were told one day this is going to happen, this is what you're going to have to do. So a lot of our elders instilled that in us, the education. Forecasts, foresee what's going to happen. Don't argue and don't get mad about money. Don't criticize one another, the do's and don'ts. Make sure you do everything with love. Make sure there's a lot of kinship that's involved. So that's kind of like I had to self-evaluate myself in that. And then respite care, on the reservation, I noticed that there's nobody there to, while I'm at work, while I'm at school, there's nobody to provide that 2 hour, where nobody's going to be watching my father, my relative, and so forth. So we all had to jump in and help one another. We knew we had to do that. So a lot of times, as young as I was, I always had to remind my sisters. I said, wait a minute, we're not doing this for ourselves, we're doing this for our relative. So a lot of times I did a lot of reminding, and I shared some resources that I was knowledgeable about. So I shared that, and most of the time it's interesting that they listened to me. Not because of my education, not because of I went to college and I got a degree. It's because that, don't you remember, auntie, uncle used to tell us this? So we need to remember that. And we need to come together. It should be the other way around. My older sister, brothers making the choices and making decisions, but sometimes I always stepped in to do that. And I remember one of my aunt told me that one of these days when you go out in your journey, you're going to go out and get a job, they're going to come back and look to you. They're going to call you one of these days and ask you, okay, we need some gas money, we need some money for this and that. And it's very interesting. And your nieces and nephews, your own kids, they're going to come back to you and reach out. Father, cousin, brother, we need some help here. It's very interesting that they saw that. That actually happens now. And they know when payday is. And that's when I turn my cell phone on. So, just kind of a little bit of sharing of what I grew up, seeking agencies, seeking programs to help caregiver family meetings, male caregivers versus female caregivers. Look at the statistics. I think now that a lot of the agencies and service providers provide formal caregiving. So family could be a resource, and the other thing that I have to also look at is how do you deal with the stress when it comes? How do you deal with that? Take time for yourself. Step away from that situation when the loved one maybe is asleep or you have time. Take a shower, wash your face, shave, do your hair. If a respite care is available there, go to the movie. Reward yourself. Buy some nice clothes for yourself. Don't ever forget about yourself as a caregiver, because if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to last beyond that client, the one you're taking care of. So always remember that you're an individual too. You also need some caregiving as well, and you reach out to family members and reach out to resources and so forth. Faith helps, prayer helps, meditation, and so forth. I'm doing on time. Okay. I'm going to be detailed in. So that's kind of like, my history, my experience of how I became a caregiver, how I learned about it. And working with the tribes in the state of Arizona, there's 22, possibly a lot of people that I know are non-Native American agencies and state don't know that. Working with the Intertribal Council of Arizona really put a lot of health experience around my experience working as a health promotion specialist, and then now at the state level working with the Department of Economic Security as an instructor and liaison for DES. So I still travel out to all the tribal communities as well as on the over 100 state sites, DES sites around the state. And throughout history, they have never heard about a cultural awareness training, which I do, the second track that I deliver. And a lot of the state agencies do not know there are 22 sovereign nations around the state. And I share that education with them as well. Other community partners like the Foundation for Senior Living, Native Health, Ability 360, and then in the tribal communities there's areas like Area Agency on Aging, Social Services, and those are places to go where when you don't know where to turn, a lot of times we forget about that. So that's where I see a lot of information and receive a lot of information from them. And coming from a reservation, living on the reservation, there's still challenges and benefits and a lot of things that you need to go out and find those information on your own. And there are so many challenges that, are coming about with people with disabilities with the tribes that I'm learning as I go travel out. Today, in this one facility, there's many representation who are service providers, the expert, knowledgeable people that are out there that have tables that are set up that you can ask questions. How do I connect with these resources? Who do I talk to? How do I go about learning how to do about this? So those are things that you can do today. Look at your Indian Health Services. There's a lot of information there. Sometimes the lack of nursing homes on the reservation is always a challenge. Look at the American Disability Act compliance issues and ensure and learn about those when you're dealing with an individual that has a disability. So expanding your knowledge and knowledge about available resources. Are there funding for caregiving programs? All the 22 tribes in the state do have programs that are funded by DES through the Aging and Adult Services and other services. So there is funding available. And now, as of within the last couple of years, you have representation at the Department of Economic Security. And I have some colleagues here with me. I'd like to ask them to stand before I conclude. These are the people that are the designated tribal liaisons represented by DES. There are 8 of us, and we have a table out here in the exhibit. Come by, get one of our cards. If you ever need something, we're here on behalf of the tribes, on behalf of the state to talk to you, share information and so forth. Get to know us. Call us when you need to. So there's 8 of us at the state level now, with the support of the governor of Arizona and DES. So, in closing, be prepared. Prepare what's coming up. What are the processes? What are the steps? If you're going to get into the journey, connecting with other experienced caregivers like myself. What is it that you do when this came up? How did you go about it? Talk to me. Share it with others. Share the stress and what you cope with other people. That always helps. Becoming familiar with services, resources. Again, reward yourself. Take time for yourself. Pray, meditate. Learn a song that makes you feel good. Forecasts. Always look up, traditionally in Native American, our teaching is don't go plan beyond 24 hours. We don't know what's going to happen. But at least have an idea of where we're going to turn. Maybe, put it in handwriting or something. Learn about being a power of attorney. How to manage money for those who can't anymore. Look at wills. Those are resources that you can have and utilize, and those are available throughout different agencies. I'm glad I have a little video for you. Hopefully, this is my journey with working with Arizona tribes. questions or anything you want to talk to me about, a heha, which means thank you in Navajo.
Thank you so much, Aaron. I can really relate to where you're coming from with this, and there was a lot of times where I myself, forgot about myself, and I never did take care of myself. I'm more or less taking care of other people is a real inspiration to your heart and to your mind. Taking that love that you have and giving it to somebody else to share that love with you, whether it be a family member, a friend, or someone, an employee, neighbor, maybe just someone that's in your nature just to want to sit down and talk to, And sometimes they just need that, that little time. And it's giving a lot to them, as well as ourselves, and giving a little bit of our more positive spirit to them too, in that way. And I really, like I said before, thank you, Aaron, and I really understand where you're coming with this. Thank you. Archie, I'm sorry. Why do you keep saying Aaron? What's wrong with me? Yeah, I'm sorry. I said today. I apologize. I don't know why I got these different names in my mind today. It must be the weather. I'll blame Mother Nature. Okay. You do a raffle? We're going to do 3 raffles right now, so let's get your raffle tickets out and take a look at our number.
Hold the anticipation just a moment longer. I need to make another announcement. We have a second car blocking the accessible aisle. This one is a blue Prius with a license plate Arizona 20AB39 in God We Trust. So this one, in addition to the gray Chevy Equinox BNJ 6027, both are blocking the accessible lane. Both have accessible plates. Help us out. Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. I guess that's the announcements for the door prize, huh? Okay, who's you gonna draw? Or you have?
Yeah, that Archie. Just one piece, yeah.
Okay. That's the raffle for right now. And I'm gonna read off the last, I'm sorry?
This is
Let's see, what is that? Oh, it's an eagle. Who is that made by? Do you have a name on there or anything? What is it?
Yeah, I donated this. This is a hand-painted artwork on canvas by a Navajo named Jay Largo from New Mexico, from Mariano Lake.
It's gorgeous.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay, I'm going to read off the last 4 numbers on your ticket. It's 6737.
Next prize?
Okay, next prize, what do we have?
Well, it's a bag with
It's
a
a bag full of
it's
goodies.
a bag with a bag.
A bag full of goodies with a bag.
It's a lady that makes that. What party?
Who did the donation?
I provided this donation.
Yay, thank you. It's awesome. Okay, the last 4 numbers for this is 6752. 6752.
Who?
Who? Bingo? Somebody bingo?
6752?
6752?
No,
No?
but
Okay, let's try another one.
I don't know. Let me make a phone call. Yeah.
Okay, this lucky number is 6746. 6746. Right over
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Woo!
I think
Unfortunately, it's not the car that's outside or the Mariano.
yeah. Oh, yeah? Oh, you know, the, an event on the rooftop. So,
Hey, we have one more.
One more?
No,
The
okay.
beautiful beaded,
Yeah, so there's a lot going
key
on,
ring
but yeah, I'm supposed to be at a meeting for
from
a couple
Edgewater.
other things too.
At the edge water. Okay, the lucky number is 6766. 6766.
Just booked. All of them. I can probably
6766. No takers?
No 6766, huh?
Slow down a little bit.
Okay.
But, yeah, just let's do this.
Okay, this one is 6727. 6727. Woo!
Yeah, I'll make a phone call.
One more?
We'll do one more.
Uno más?
Uno momento, señorita.
This is a really cool bag from a place to call home that has coffee and a coffee canister. So hopefully somebody who's as big a coffee hound as I am will like this.
Yeah. Okay, the lucky number is 6796. Right over there. Woo! Right on. Okay, that concludes this portion of the morning. It's break time, and then after break time, 10:30 so you can go to your sessions, okay? Yeah. We'll see you back here in a few. Thank you all. Thank you and be safe, okay?
It's now time for us, it's now time for one of the highlights of this event for us every year. It's time for us to present the Marcus Harrison Jr. Leadership Award. For those who aren't familiar with Marcus Harrison Jr., he actually started the talking circle that resulted in this event being created 14 years ago. He was a leader who provided inspiration and obviously guidance and was a spark to help make the American Indian Disability Summit a reality. And so it is in his honor that this award is presented each year. Now, I don't mean to drag this out too much, but I'm going to introduce someone who is then going to introduce someone else, who is then going to introduce the award winner. We like to make it a family affair. So it is my pleasure to introduce to you right now Melissa Ann Santora, who is Executive Director of Diversability Incorporated, the parent organization of the Arizona Youth Leadership Forum. Melissa has been working in the disability arena for a great many years and was actually the person who nominated last year's Marcus Harrison Jr. Leadership Award winner. So now it is with my great pleasure that I bring up to the stage Melissa Ann Santora.
Thank you, John. I am honored today to introduce the 2017 Marcus Harrison Jr. Award winner, Mateo Treetop. If you don't know Mateo, I'm going to tell you a little bit about him. He's one of my favorite human beings ever. And Mateo is a person who acquired his disability very young in his life. He has a tremendous injury, and he's tried every odd, I think, that has ever been placed in front of him. Last year I got very emotional speaking about Mateo from my heart, and I'm doing that again. His mom, Tana, is here, and she has really been instrumental in helping Mateo to achieve his goals and dreams. I met Mateo in 2015 when he was accepted as a delegate to Arizona Youth Leadership Forum. He emerged immediately as a leader in our program and continues to serve as the parliamentarian of the Alumni Association. He's also a graduate of Arizona Youth Engagement Academy and has been instrumental in providing trainings and peer-to-peer services to other youth who have disabilities. So thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to introduce Mateo Treetop.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't prepare a speech, but you know,
better. We want to hear.
But I know the hard work and dedication that takes to be at least nominated for this award. And if I remember correctly, the 2008 award recipient is Angelina James. Now, I don't know much about this person, but I do know that, you know, that whatever she has done to receive this award, it has benefited her community, and it is my honor to present the Marcus Harris Junior Leadership Award to Angelina James for 2018.
Keep wearing that blanket, or do you want to put it down? You want to keep wearing it? It's hot outside.
I'm Angelina James. I'm Hopi and Navajo. I reside on the Hopi Reservation, but I also live my life on the Navajo Reservation. I also lived in the city of Phoenix for 5 years of my life, from age 0 to 5 years old. I also lived in a rural community called Cornfields, Arizona with my Navajo grandmother. So I know how it feels to sit on the dirt, play with dirt, eat dirt, anything with dirt, make mud pies, whatever. That was really fun. You know, talk about all the things that gentleman spoke about this morning, about his life journey, caregiving. This is a very appropriate theme. It's a lifetime story. We all have a lifetime story. Sometimes we just don't have the people to have the time to listen to what that lifetime story is. Now's the time to start listening. Now's the time to start paying attention what it is, person in their heart. How does it make you feel to become a leader? I'm the oldest in my family. It all starts when you're young. Little do we know sometimes we have that potential when you're encouraged as a young person. When you learn how to crawl, you learn how to stand, you learn how to talk, you're being encouraged, you're being taught. As you get older, you learn different things like youth. They say youth has a lot of problems. When I look at youth, and I have myself, they don't have problems. They're just misguided. They just need to be told a new sense of direction. What happened to our values in our system? We're Native Americans. We're the number one people that know more about ourselves and what caregiving is all about. We teach our young people. Even babies are very helpful. They find ways to teach us different things. That's the circle of life. I think the gentleman this morning who talked about his journey in caregiving painted a real reality of how it feels to come from a background like that. Traumatized in many areas. And as an adult, you have to pay attention to how to undo that traumatization to make yourself healthy. Not only as a professional, not only as a service provider, not only as a politician, it doesn't matter what role you are, but the main roles that you play are the ones that are at home. Those are the most important ones. Those are the ones that we come out with, go home to, and tell our sad story to. I want to thank Mark Harris for developing this award ceremony, for recognizing us as a leader. Leadership development is not easy. It takes a lot out of you. Sometimes we make mistakes, but so what? We have to learn to laugh about it. You know, oh, excuse me. You know, sometimes we forget. You know, oh, I didn't know that. You know, it's a lot of work to get to know who you really are. You know, sometimes we can say it's easy for us to say we know fake people. Oh, they're liars. Oh, they're not telling the truth. You know, we don't believe in them. Well, we gotta turn that around. For being recognized as a leader in Marcus Harrison's eyes, I'm following in his footsteps. Thank you for helping me lead more to more and more people. I have such a network here. Caregiving, it's a lifetime story. It is also a way of life. When life gives you 100 reasons to break down and cry, show life that you have 1,000 reasons to smile and laugh. Stay strong. Thank you very much to the people, committee, John Myers, ADDPC for accepting me on their council, Arizona Center for Disability Law as a board member for providing diversity, DNA Legal Services on the Navajo Reservation as a Hopi representative, and the many committees that I do. I am currently with Assist Independence as a coordinator for and trainer for the Community Leadership Academy under the Statewide Independent Living Council. Thank you. Melissa Santori, John Myers, Michael Leva, Erica McFadden, Sarah Roof, that's doing my photos for me, Eileen Tahani, My 3 graduates that are here. Andrew Robertson is a ADPC council member. Monica, thank you very much. You all helped me get to where I am. Breaking my barrier to speak out more, because as natives they say we're shy. I ain't shy. I was never shy. Never been shy. So if you say I'm shy, I may get quiet, but that doesn't mean I'm shy. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, get your raffle tickets out. My 2 bags that are on the table. Where's my helping hand? This is my brother Virgil James, the MC. This is the Indian way of doing Easter baskets. You got Easter basket stuff in there. One's for a girl and one's for a boy. Let's see who the lucky parent's gonna be. 6753. All right. As natives, we always give back. Okay, the next number, 6826. Who are you pointing at, Jamie? You got somebody? Oh, was that the number you gave me?
That's me?
The only child. It sure is. I picked my number. Okay. 6761. 6761. Going once. Gone. I don't count to 100. I just do once. 6735. Oh! Got the one with the curls on it.
Yeah, I put them back. Okay, that was great. Awesome. Congratulations, sister. All your hard work really paid off. This lady here, my sister, she's really done a lot. I've really seen her really emerge her life up to point, and a lot of dedication and a lot of time and effort and a lot of complaining to me. Went very far, and it was very positive. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, we're going to have the retirement of the flags. We have our Hopi RTC group that's going to retire the flags.
Tiger, halt. Right, face. Present, arms. Order, arms. Retrieve, colors. Left, face. Mark time, march. Forward, march.
Thank you so much. You may have a seat. Okay. Thank you so much, Hopi High, for coming down and doing this for us and for the disability. They traveled like about 4 hours north from here just to get down here and do this for us. So it's a wonderful thing to do. Thank you for your commitment. We appreciate it very much. And now we'll do raffle. What color is it? I'd like to make a short, quick announcement. One of the student color guards have lost their wallet. His name is Michael. So if you see a wallet laying around or somebody reports a wallet, it might be his. You can go over and see James. He's 17. There you go. Woo! Okay, next one is 6669. 6669. All right.
found it.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Michael, you owe me $100 now. Next number is 6769. 6769. Uno, dos, tres. Okay? Okay, next number 6842. 6842. Okay. Moving along, 6734. Yay! Now to give you guys some time to go and visit the vendors before your next session starts. There's a lot of good things out there. There's a lot of good people. Talk with a lot of good people at different stages. So it's very interesting. Indulge your little minds. Get those craniums moving.